Okay.
Hello, everybody. It's Thursday, the 9th of October, 2025, and this is the Love Movement regular weekly meeting. I couldn't meet last week, but yeah, life is busy. So remember, it's liberation, opportunity, vitality, empowerment. Now, Roger's got his hand up at the moment, and we know what he wants to talk about. So I'm just going to come round. Anyone else need to say anything before we go to Roger? Right, okay. So we'll go to Roger now of whatever you want to say, Roger.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, thank you.
Okay. Well, I know not everybody is conversant with the word nexus. So I'm going to tell you what it means. And I have to tell you what it means because the word nexus is featured in the letter that I'm going to read. The word nexus means a central link or connection. Okay, right. Having said that, I want to tell you about a letter that I wrote to the Metropolitan Police. I wrote a letter in August, on the 19th of August, accusing Starmer of being complicit in the genocide by Israel of the Gazanians. I think that's the right way to say it, the people of Gaza. And so I received a reply, and I'll read the reply. Dear Mr. Manners, thank you for taking the time to write to the Metropolitan Police Service regarding your serious concerns. Your letter has been referred to me. I work on the war crimes team embedded within SO15, the MPS Counter-Terrorism Command. In order for us at the Metropolitan Police Service to initiate a criminal investigation, we need to confirm that there is a sufficient UK nexus to the allegations. Where appropriate, we will undertake a scoping exercise to explore this nexus. The terms of reference for our scoping exercises can be found on the Crown Prosecution Service website, and the website reference is given. And the final paragraph is this. We have a number of ongoing scoping exercises into circumstances surrounding the Israel-Gaza conflict, and I will ensure that your concerns are considered within this process. Yours sincerely, Chris D. Ashar, Detective Sergeant, SO15 War Crimes Team. So that's the entirety of the letter. Now, the reason that I wrote this was that I got information that Starmer was using the resources of the United Kingdom Corporation Limited to assist the Zionist regime in Israel in the genocide of the Gaza people. And there's no doubt, in my opinion, from my information, that the Royal Air Force planes were being flown out of Akrotiri in Cyprus, which is a UK airbase, for information purposes, intelligence purposes, to assist the Israelis in the genocide. And I've just found a recent video, which the reference to the link is on Love Movement Telegram channel, and I'll also put it on here as well in the chat when I finish talking, which is actually now, because I've said everything I need to say, and we can move on to somebody else.
Right, thank you, Roger. Does anyone want to say anything in response to what Roger's just said? But thank you very much for standing up for us all, for our freedoms, and for the things that are wrong that are happening. Right, now then, I'm going to come. Paul, is there anything you're wanting to say at all today? Yeah, when he's unmuted.
Yes. I just think that this country is going to end up in a position where they can't keep taxing us to fund wars. We're sort of on that precipice now, and whether the powers that be can see it, I think the Russians see it, and they're just playing the long game. And we just, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen to us. But
Yeah.
wars that the people don't want, we don't want to be involved in, and this looming digital ID, that's really scaring me. So it's government overreach into my personal and private life. It's a step too much.
Yeah.
So yes, these are the two things that are bothering me: war and digital ID.
Thank you, Paul, for that. And we're just not being allowed proper freedoms, and we don't need the restrictions that we've got. And I can remember when I was taught at school that taxes were first set up to fund wars. So when I started being self-employed, particularly, I mean, when it was just being taken from my money anyway on my bank gyro credit or whatever they called it when I was being paid a salary, I didn't particularly think about it then. But now it's like, well, why on earth are we paying the taxes that we're doing? And we know we could have free energy, we could actually have much better communities, supportive, and not people doing such long, ridiculous hours at work. We shouldn't have the education system in the way that it is. And there's a lot that could be relatively easily changed. And unfortunately, yeah, I could go on for ages, but Roger's raised his hand, so I'm going to go to Roger now. So, Roger.
Well, I forgot to say that I'm going to write to the Metropolitan Police tomorrow, asking them what progress they've made. So I should be able to report on that next week. And
Right.
just supporting, what you've just said about electricity, etc., etc. There's a man by the name of Maxwell Chikumbutso, who lives in Zimbabwe, and he's invented a car which doesn't need petrol, fuel, or recharging. And I think he's made it available in some countries at a cost of $16,000, which is chicken feed compared to what you can save on fuel costs. So if anybody wants to contact, I'll put in the chat his name, and then anybody who wants to do can Google it. Okay.
Yeah. And Roger, if you could put that in the love movement or love stream groups as well, just to let people, that would be great if you would, please, at some
Yeah,
point.
I'll put a link there in Telegram. But right
Wonderful.
now I'm just gonna write his name.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to go to Rachel now.
Yeah, thanks, Julie. I wasn't actually going to come on today, and I thought, actually, yes, I am going to come on because my blood is currently boiling. And the thing that is making it boil, this is something that I discovered through Andrew Bridgen, actually, is the new government legislation. This is the Planning and Infrastructure Bill. And it is basically, I mean, what we're talking about is that we are now descending into full communist rule. This is a very kind of, like a Marxist thing about all property is theft and that the state should own everything. So under this proposed bill, and I don't know when it's going through, it's basically an ability for the government to land grab. And I'm going to read, this is what Andrew Bridgen said. It includes compulsory purchase by public bodies and governments, local and national, to buy land, which includes the greenbelt, farmland, and also allotments at low agricultural value rather than the full hope value. After purchase, they can sell the land to a housing developer or solar panel company at full developmental value, because of course they control planning. The bill also gives compulsory purchase rights to acquire land for nature and allows Natural England to acquire it. Now, the reason why this is a concern to me is obviously I'm part of the Cressbrook Dale Private Members Association, and we own collectively 53 acres of agricultural land in the Peak District. Now, Natural England did try to pinch it off us on the cheap a few years ago and made a derisory offer, absolute peanuts for this land, way below its value, and obviously we rejected it. So this bill is a concern, and then obviously every other bill, all of the assisted dying bill, the digital ID that's been pushed through, all of this increase in police powers, and also the attacks on our freedom of speech. And it's like there's a deluge of legislation currently being bulldozed through on a tiny wafer-thin number of the adult population, which is less than 20% voted Labour, and I'm sure it's probably less than 5% actually support Starmer and Labour anymore. We can't get rid of them for another 5 years. And Rog and I know from our experience of dealing with the courts, for us to get a trial by jury and to assert our ability to overturn legislation is becoming increasingly impossible. It's just being blocked by the courts. And so, you know, what is our recourse as the people? Because, you know, I put this in a post today on Telegram, at least under the Con Party, what we were dealing with there was sort of World Economic Forum, big corporate takeover. And now under Labour, not only have we got the World Economic Forum, big corporate takeover, we've also got state control dovetailed with that. So basically, the state is enforcing legislation to take the assets off the people and then selling it, and then basically giving those assets to the big corporations to build the houses or to build the infrastructure or to do whatever they want. And so and it's all owned by BlackRock, as we know. So what is happening is true totalitarianism. I can't put it strongly enough. And you know, there's supposed to be separation of powers between the government, the judiciary, and the police. But as far as I can see, they're completely in lockstep. And if we, the people, do not have recourse to challenge the government, because the petition system doesn't work, they just bloody ignore it. The police are completely, you know, in lockstep with the government. They're not acting under their oath. And if you try to go through the courts, they're absolutely supporting the government. And in that situation, the only solution left to the people is a revolution, actually, a peaceful revolution. I would never advocate any form of violence, but that actually remains the only solution. And sorry, I'm ranting now, but I feel angry about this. And so in the case of our land, my inclination before we would ever go down that route or allow it, and obviously we're a private members association, so it's not my say, but my personal opinion would be to declare our independence from Westminster and the United Kingdom, to assemble our own army and to defend our territory. I mean, seriously, like, no. This is, you know, we are free men and women of the land. We own that land, lock, stock and barrel, outright. There are no charges over it. There's no finance on it. We 100% own it outright, not just the soil, but all of the minerals rights, all of the water rights, the mining rights, every right. We own that land outright, and it literally will be over my dead body that Keir Starlin takes it from under our nose. I am absolutely through with this totalitarian command control regime. It's really, really getting serious, you know. So anyway, rant over.
Right, thank you, Rachel, for that. And I mean, when you talk about the planning permission stuff, there's so many pubs that are being closed, and even very ancient pubs that I know of locally in Mansfield and in Newark, which isn't far from Mansfield. And I also heard of one in Hitchin that apparently the rent was tripled. And so, of course, they had to leave the pub. But they're wanting a planning permission to build a business park. You know, when they talk about 15-minute cities and the amount of building and stuff that's happening around Mansfield, and it is so contrived. It's not for the local people. It's not for what we need and want. And yet people seem so blinkered overall. That's why I'm so glad I'm part of this love movement, because people seem to realise more of these erroneous things that are happening. And when I've got people that aren't even understanding any of this telling me about these planning permission and, you know, hyping that rent up, and I know what my local micropub's going through. They've been up for sale, wanting to retire for about 2 years. And COVID, or COVID stuff as I now call it, had really changed their opening times and things like that. So they're now minimal, and they've sold off their microbrewery. But even trying to sell, they've had people interested in buying it, but it's the local council that is stopping it happening.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous.
I also just want to add that a couple of I've been sent a couple of things on the Fabian Society. Now, I had no real awareness of the Fabian Society, and it's something that I need to delve into a little bit more deeply. But as I understand it, this is a long-term, long-haul strategy. Tony Blair is part of Fabian Society. It's kind of like they're playing a long game, and I think their symbol is like the tortoise or something, or it's about basically just that relentless grind of over many, many decades to assert their plan, their evil master plan. So it's like we have to really, we the people really have to unite across all of our, you know, there's so many people in this movement now, you know, there's millions of us now. We really have to unite and show these.
But this is where
we have to show them our power of we the people, and an absolute rejection en masse of this absolute shit show, you know.
And it's really knowing how to spend our time and energy to be able to get the freedoms that we need.
Well, no, we have the freedoms we need. No one can take them away from us. Keir Starlin, no government, no authority has the right to tell us what we can and can't say, the freedom of speech, or to take our land, to tell us we have to have digital ID, to snoop into our privacy. These are inalienable human, I won't even say human because that's not a correct word, rights of we the people, and no one gives us these freedoms and no one has the right to take them away. And it's like this has to be the last stand to say no.
And it's really that sense of what we spend our time and energy helping others to realise, because we know we've got the freedoms, but also you know, sometimes I can feel like I'm a bird in a cage with the door open, which I know I can get out, but it's like, okay, so what can I actually do to help us all realise our freedoms and genuinely have those freedoms? Yes, we know we've got them.
Well, it only takes 3.5%. It doesn't take a majority, and we are doing our bit. You just doing these weekly meetings, even though it's only 6 of us, these still go out, they're still available. They might reach, you know, hundreds of people, thousands of people, millions of people over time, who knows. But there's so many people now all over the planet who see what's going on, and it doesn't take a huge number if you listen to Larkin Rose, the tiny dot, you know, it doesn't take that many people to, and that's why they're pushing through this command control, because they know the power of us, and they know that when we come together, it's game over. It's really game over.
Like you mentioned the Fabian Society, I've only recently sort of heard about that. I remember when Tony Blair got in, I'm like, well, this isn't proper Labour, and why is he in? I can remember thinking that then, but life was busy with other things then. And I know that what I thought was proper Labour, but now even the whole of that, it's just, yeah. But it's been happening for centuries, and we've sort of come in now for this whole time of proper awakening. And I know some people have an issue with that terminology, but words restrict, whereas the wordless are infinite, which is part of the Tao Te Ching. And we just need to keep coming together. And that's why the wonders of technology for us to be able to have this meeting today, even. Yes, technology, I hate the term artificial intelligence, but it is being used so artificially intelligently. It is not a good use of technology, a lot of what they're doing. But we could be having people that don't need to work the ridiculous hours that they're, our youngsters, young adults now are having to work such ridiculous hours. And they're so entrained into it. And so many places have to have these sort of fob things that they have to sort of check in and check out even when they're working. It's just so wrong. Right, I'm going to come to Roger. You've got your hand up.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
I just want to expand on what subject Rachel has introduced, and that's the Fabian Society. The Conservative Party, as a party, is a member of the Fabian Society. The symbol is not a tortoise, it's a wolf in sheep's clothing. And that's
it used to be, Rog, but apparently they changed it.
Oh, okay. Well, I know that that's what it is now.
Okay, because I heard differently. I heard it used to be a wolf in sheep's clothing, and then they changed it to a tortoise. Or maybe I got it the other way round.
Anyway, okay. If it isn't now, it was.
Right.
It's not really that important. There's some more important information. The reason that it's called what it is was a man by the name of Rhodes, the man who exploited the diamonds and gold extraction in South Africa, was the one who set it up. And and it was a reflection on a general, a Roman general called Maximus Verrucus Fabius. The Verrucus was derived from the fact that he had a verruca on his lip. Anyway, so that was where the name came from. And he was criticized in his day because what he would do was he wouldn't attack with soldiers, the enemy. He would just grind them down. He would introduce immoral practices like alcoholism and drug addiction and anything which was bad, so that the society would become literally demoralized. And then he would just walk in with his army without having to throw a spear. So that's a little bit more information about the Fabian Society.
Yeah, and even whatever we see, even if it's written in a book or written on the internet, we also know that it can always have been edited. And apparently they're even changing films so that the chemtrails that they're doing in ancient films are being looked as though we've always had those trails of whatever they're supposed to be, cloudy stuff. And so when you know that, and it's really when you've got people that we can talk to each other about what we've experienced, because unless you've experienced it yourself, you don't know for sure. But even when you've experienced something yourself, things can be set in and you think, well, did I experience that? And I know even some of my family, I've got certain memories that I've got, and my siblings, and there's only 7 years between the lot of us, remember things differently. And so even that we are being played, aren't we? Now, Paul, I thought you seemed as though you might want to say something at some point.
Well, there's a lot of things to say. Just what you on a bit, being on about then. I've noticed when I go into city centres at night now with all the illuminated, like the funny lighting, I don't know, is it a frequency or a wavelength? It feels electrically charged, and it's playing with me sense and my systems. So there's definitely something going on out there. I can't bear to be in a city at night. I've just got to leave. And what we're going through is what...
Yeah, cities aren't what they used to be. I know when I go to Nottingham, and when I've not been to London much, but last time I went, I was amazed how different it was. And I mean, Mansfield Town Centre, it just doesn't feel like Mansfield anymore.
Yeah.
But also when you get all these LED lights.
There's an atmosphere. There's definitely an atmosphere that they're playing around with. But what we're going through now is really what the Russians, the Belarusians went through when Stalin came to power. And a lot of them just ended up leaving the city centres and living in datches out in the woods away from it all. They couldn't bear it. And I just feel we're at that stage now where I'm looking for somewhere to live that's on the periphery, and obviously you're going to get declared mad and insane for wanting to live away from it, and they're going to come with the men in white coats and take you away for being insane. See, we're at that point now where I don't know.
They don't like us knowing what they're doing, and they love to try and do it in ways that make you wonder, well, was that really what I experienced or not? And even, when they're doing things like editing attachments of things sent by emails, and then you reread it and you think, well, that didn't say what I thought it said. And you think you're going a bit, but I say mad is marvellous, crazy is creative, and we need to just keep coming together so that we can help.
Well, yeah, another thing I've done, I've been for a few appointments, and I spoke to the young people on the reception desks, and while I've been sitting in the waiting room, I tried to broach on various subjects, and they just haven't got the level of educational comprehension of understanding to grasp what I'm saying. It's...
But they're so indoctrinated by education systems, and the way that they've got the gates and the fencing around schools now, this green fencing. And a child said to me that's to stop the autistic children escaping. But they're so used to those children that have got significant disabilities and autistic, whatever, and all these terms of autism, ADHD and all that lot. If we didn't have bums on seats as much as we have, and we've got them out in the community, they'd be learning life skills much more, but they don't want them learning life skills.
Another thing I've noticed, if you watch, because I've got Prime Amazon, and I just watch the films to keep a pace of what people are thinking, what they want to portray to us. And if you notice the films before lockdown and all these films they've made after the pandemic, they're unwatchable. They've just changed the whole style of how the storyline, the filming, the angles, the camera, the lights. They're unwatchable. Modern day films are unwatchable. And
it's amazing how often I go out, Paul, and I feel like that film where he's putting his glasses on and he's
They Live. Yeah, you see it for real. Yeah.
And you think, why aren't more people seeing it? But we are seeing the reality, and even then we don't know how much of a percent. I'm sure I'm not seeing 100% reality, but thank God I'm seeing as much as I do. And even this digital ID, and the number of people that are having cataract operations and having artificial lenses put into their eyes, I'm sure is part of the facial recognition stuff, because the artificial stuff will not change in the same way as natural lenses will. And so I'm sure that is part of it. And honestly, it's ridiculous locally how many people I'm hearing of having these things done. And even some people that I thought were quite awake, I've known in past recentish years.
Have you seen that Russia 2045 project? I'm going to put it in the chat. I'll find it on YouTube, and that's worth a watch. We're just coming into neo-humanity now. Like Max Egan says, the human being has become obsolete.
Right. Yeah, and this is where we need to realise how valuable we are, but we are only a part of nature. And I really keep saying, I even sent a photo to someone recently of a caterpillar saying they don't need to go shopping and everything, and they are going to thrive and become a butterfly. And nature is so intelligent. It's incredible. Now, another thing that I've made myself a little note, Rachel, you said something about we can't get rid of Starmer for 5 years. Is it 5 years still? I thought we'd got a potential new election before then.
I think it's 2029, the next one. It's something like 5th of August 2029, or because the last one was the 4th of July 2024, wasn't it? So it's a 5-year term. And unless there's a vote of no confidence, and you can't do a petition to do a vote of no confidence, so unless something drastic happens, we're stuck with this show.
Yeah, so we've got another 4 years then, not 5, because even that extra year.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is it's like 5 years from when they came in.
Right. And I think you wanted to say something else. I know Roger's got his hand up as well, but while you're talking, do you want to carry on?
Yeah, so just a couple of things. This is courtesy of AI. The initial symbol of the Fabian Society, they used a more aggressive image, a wolf in sheep's clothing, reflecting the idea of infiltrating and changing society from within. The symbol was replaced as it was seen as too negative, and they replaced it with the tortoise, symbolizing the society's belief that a socialist state could be achieved slowly through democratic reforms and without revolutionary upheaval. And it mentions here, as Roger said, about their wearing down their enemies through patient, drawn-out tactics rather than decisive battles. And now they've changed their logo to a text-based typographic design, so they've even moved away from the tortoise. But one of the things it says that they want to avoid revolutionary upheaval. And so you can kind of see in the context of the Fabian Society why they would want to introduce all of these command control, digital ID, 15-minute cities, not being able to travel, social credit scores, because that prevents an uprising. You know, those are the kind of measures that would help them prevent a revolution. You know, so it's a creeping, as we saw with COVID, it's a creeping kind of cancer, you know.
And the way they brought COVID, I'm going to call it, because I just have to call it COVID.
Yes.
The way they brought that in when they did, I mean, I don't really watch. Oh, sorry, someone's come to the door, so I'm going to let you carry on talking. I think it's.
I'll just make the second point to respond what you said, Paul, about the cities, because I do, you know, I'm sort of trained in feng shui, and so I'm very aware of geopathic stress and electromagnetic stress. And I can really feel it because I spend so much time in nature and I do a lot of shamanic journeying. So I kind of know what it feels when the nervous system is at peace and is in a kind of equilibrium. And then you go into a city and the energetic kind of disturbance in the field, it literally is very unsettling for the nervous system, and it's really difficult to cope with. And for me, it you know, I have to kind of get out and come back and go to the sea and just earth, and to get away from that soup.
Yeah,
you only have to look at your phone at how many Wi-Fi signals, like if you go to a city of hundreds of Wi-Fi and, you know, all 5G, and it's just, no one has done any proper experiments on the impact on our health, but you can feel the impact on your health. It's like being in a soup of electromagnetic stress. It literally is very bad.
Yeah, as a male, I just feel my primitive hunting techniques and just turning and watching my back. I'm just turning a lot, and I just feel like prey.
Yeah, your basic reptilian instincts are kicking in.
Yeah.
The amygdala. I can never pronounce that word. Amygdala. Actually.
Amygdala, yeah.
Amygdala, that's it.
Mm.
Rog, you've got your hand up. I'll take over as
Yeah, well, I just wanted to expand on what you said about chemtrails. There's a man named Dane Wigington. He lives in Shasta County in America, and he's been researching chemtrails for years and years. He has a website which I think is called geoengineering, something like that. Anyway, the important thing is he's discovered by analysing the soil at certain times that these chemtrails are made up of barium, strontium, and aluminium at least, and there may be other ingredients in it as well. But there's little doubt, there's little wonder why there's so many people suffering from Alzheimer's and dementia, because aluminium attacks the brain.
Yeah.
But yet they're allowing this to happen, and now the government has even passed a bill through Parliament to make it legal to to drop these compounds on us. So we're going to be getting even more than that. Anyway, I'll let somebody else speak now. I just wanted to fill people in on what's been dropped on us.
Yeah, if they are dropping all these chemicals on us, the globalist elites, the royal family, they're obviously breathing the same particles as us, so it's going to affect them as well. So they must be taking something to reverse it or stop it.
Yeah, well, you're probably right there, Paul.
We need to be able to get our blood properly analysed, but it's finding a lab that can do it to find out what's in our blood. But I did watch a video where somebody did have the blood analysed, and the amount of nanotechnology that was floating around in it was unreal. So they do say raw organic nicotine does help to kill it. So
yeah,
they have just passed legislation in Florida. I read on some passing thing that Florida in America have banned all chemtrails and all air spraying. Yeah, I mean, it's basically satanic to block out the sun.
Well, how are they going to measure that if there's a plane flying from the Bahamas to Canada, say, and it goes over Florida? How
there are flight trackers, so I guess they presumably they own their airspace.
You can just turn on the airspray, the whatever you need to do to release it. How are they going to know who's monitoring it? Can it be trusted?
Well, presumably, you've got air traffic control, who's aware of every flight, and that even we can do that with the Sky Scanner app.
Yeah.
So air traffic control know what planes are in the vicinity, and if any plane is seen dumping chemtrails, presumably there's a lawsuit if that is their federal law and they own that airspace, and you fly through it and you dump your toxic cargo.
Well, what if it's a military plane on a specialist operation that's top secret? How do we,
Well, I mean, you don't even need to go that far. I mean, you can just see them crisscrossing the bloody sky like non-stop.
Just do it at night. There's so many, what we've seen is affirmative, but, is it just a little bit of hope that they're giving us that?
What you notice is, like, if it's a sunny day, it starts off blue skies.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, as the day progresses, as it heads towards noon, suddenly you've got all of the chemtrails that are spreading out. So by the time it comes to noon and the afternoon, you've got this.
Yeah, I've got that grey, gloopy sky now where I am over in Stoke-on-Trent. And I noticed this morning it was a little bit clear, and I just said to myself, what you just said, it's going to happen, and it has. It's just grey gloop in the sky.
Yeah. So this is the thing, like, just to draw back from... Oh, Rog, you've got your hand up. Sorry, I don't want to...
No, sorry, I'll lower my hand. I've said what I need to say.
Yeah, and I've said this before on other calls, like, and it was a subject on the People Speak Out. It's like, because there's so much raising of consciousness and so much love and light flooding the matrix, it's almost like they're having to put as much dark energy and like distortion in the grid as possible to lower the vibration, because the Wetiko can't survive in the light. You know, it has to lurk in the dark spaces. And the higher the vibration of love and light and laughter, you know, the Wetiko can't survive, basically, this evil, dark energy. So it's like they're constantly trying to pull us down, you know, with like everything from money and bills and brown envelopes with windows, with parking, speeding this and parking that, and court stuff and bills and red letters of kind of outstanding whatever, and council tax and chemtrails and legislation, and it's just relentless. It's almost like they are desperately trying to bring our vibration down. So it's a kind of mix of conscious awareness of the shit show, and then absolute right, like we keep visioning the future we do want, and we join the dots of the whole freedom movement, so that we become a force so powerful that actually there's no reason why we can't eclipse whatever support Starmer has. I'd suspect it's already eclipsed by the freedom movement, actually, or the people who hate the government and who have opted out of voting, you know. So I suspect we are a real worry for the government, because there's no leader of the freedom movement. You know, there's so many people speaking out now, so many different pockets of people, all interconnected, all over the country, all over the world. So like it's a massive movement now.
But what they're trying is just absolutely insane. It's just not going to work on the human population. It's just going to fall down itself.
Yeah. And you see, the thing is, there's a huge amount of people within the freedom movement who won't come on a call like this. They won't put their face into, you know, they won't put their head above the parapet. I mean, I know when I stood for election as an independent, like they absolutely destroyed me through the media and trashed my Wikipedia entry. It's like a ritual humiliation. Anyone who dares publicly to stand up and speak out, you know, they put Alex Belfield in jail. They got rid of Andrew Bridgen, you know, banished him from Parliament. So Max Egan is basically had to leave Australia for speaking out. So there's a lot of people, what I'm saying is a lot of people in the freedom movement. For every person like me or you or us who comes on a call like this and voices, there's probably 1,000, if not 10,000, who quietly are, you know, cutting the 5G cables or whatever.
The only thing they've got left in their armory is genocide. That's the only thing they've got left.
Like World War III.
Yeah, just killing us all off. Rule or ruin. I think we're at that.
The reason why they won't do that, in my humble observation, is that we're dealing essentially with big corporate, World Economic Forum, big corporations, and their wealth. They've got a lot of infrastructure and a lot of wealth. And if they did do a sort of World War III scenario and nuked everything, they would destroy so much of their infrastructure and value, and then those companies wouldn't be able to function and operate. So that's why they are focusing the war and like on specific targets, like on Gaza, you know, kill all the Gaza, send it to rubble. Oh, let's go in, clear all the rubble and build a super city, a super smart city, full of casinos and high-rise 5-star hotels, and relocate the people, you know, because it's crime, and build build the new canal so that there's an alternative to the Suez, the Ben Gurion Canal, I think it's called. That's the plan. So, you know, this is big corporate strategy. So all of this is within a context of big corporate strategy, and therefore it's strategic. So they're strategically, like destroying Maui, for example, through directed energy weapons, because they need islands. The elite, they need islands so the people can't get to them. You know, they need
funny
to
you should say, funny you should say that, because the Philippines seem to be being targeted with earthquakes and typhoons.
Yeah. Well, I just know this when I went to the Seychelles, and they just said to me, all this land high on the Seychelles are like mountains in the sea. All this land high up, it's all been bought by Middle Eastern money. All of it, millions of dollars, and the most luxurious hotels you can imagine. And, you know, it's islands, a few hours flight from the Middle East, much more tropical and temperate. And it's like a haven, because you can't get there easily unless it's by plane or by boat, which is easily controlled on a small island like that. So they need these enclaves. They need these enclaves like islands in the sea, like Maui, like the Seychelles, to...
Be interesting to know what's going on up in Iceland, because they've got lots of geothermal energy up there. It's all free, so that's worth some research just to see who's investing in there and what's.
Well, they destroyed their economy, didn't they? And the people were decimated, and they just turned back to the land and to the basics of fishing, and they had to kind of take their economy out of the toilet, as I recall.
Yeah, I went there in 2012, and it was just so nice to get close, like you say, closer to nature. It's one of the best countries I've been to. I've also been to Georgia on the border with Turkey, and the taste of the food there, because there isn't the supply chain, so it's all fresh food.
Yeah.
Just the texture and richness and lushness in the food was something else. And then Cambodia as well. I went to Cambodia, and there's nobody old there, because obviously what Pol Pot did, but they're still living the lives that they lived 40, 50 years ago. It was really nice. And then I went over the border, and to come back to England, I went to Bangkok, and it just suddenly hits you, all the billboards, and you know, the change was amazing. The same thing happened in Georgia, because I went from Batumi to Istanbul, and it really was like being in the They Live film with the sunglasses. And
well, this is the thing, it's a satanic inversion. So when you're in nature, you're essentially, it's a extension of God. And then as you go into the cities, everything becomes inverted, and suddenly it's devoid of nature. And certainly when I went to Las Vegas a couple of years ago, it was, I just, there's something really wrong here. And then I realized there's no life, because they sprayed all of the, you know, they spray it with poisons so that there's no insects, there's no like little lizards. And because there's no insects and there's no lizards, and obviously there's no scorpions or snakes and dangerous stuff, but then there's no birds. So it's a completely sterile, devoid of nature, concrete jungle, which is just about consumption and gambling. It's absolutely demonic and satanic. And it's like, I just like, I had to get home, because I'm used to, you know, being in nature. I had to get out. It really was like a hell realm. And I'd been to Las Vegas in about 1989, 1988, and it was so different. It was much more fun, and just, you know, all you can eat buffets for $5. And yes, there was gambling, but it was nothing like the satanic, demonic labyrinth, which it now is, surrounded by highways to stop any poor people getting in. And the minute you go outside of the immediate boundary, the streets are just filled with people just lying on the streets, completely drugged and living in tents.
For all my life, for all my life, I wanted to go to New York, and I finally went in 2012, and it just wasn't the New York I was expecting. It was horrible. I couldn't wait to get back to England.
Yeah.
And my desire to go to America No.
The rot of the cities. I mean, Trump talks a lot about this, that, you know, if you look at what's happened to Los Angeles, which is a haven for the homeless because obviously the weather, so they're just camped all along, and in Nevada, Las Vegas, just people just living in tents under highways, lots of drugs on the street, very unsafe, and you feel nervous just walking along the sidewalk. Yeah.
Well, that's Paris and Mayfair and London now, isn't it?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I don't go to big cities really.
Mm.
Just avoid them. But they are machines. They're machines of the false matrix, and not good for your health, not good for your nervous system. But of course, they want to drive everyone out of the countries into the cities, and that's been happening since the first industrial revolution.
Yeah.
With the mills, you know. So
Yeah, funny
yeah.
you should say that, because if you go to where Manchester Airport used to be, you just go a little bit further south, you can sense what it was like in the 1700s, 1800s. Now they provide all the produce, all the farm produce into Manchester, and you get a feeling how it developed. And then you go to the ship canal. Yeah. So, yeah, that you know, you end up just living in a red brick city, really, you know. It's horrible. Horrible.
Yeah, it is. We're experiencing the natural progression of first industrial revolution, where basically that was the first slaves, you know, the worker slaves in the cotton mills, and the cotton was being picked by the slaves in America, shipped across to places like Manchester, transported to places like Cressbrook on rivers, like all across the Peak District and the Lace District in Nottingham, all of these places, and workers in these mills, usually orphans shipped up from London. It was a slave culture, and it's still continuing to this day, except we're all corporate slaves. We're slaves to the corporate system. So it's slavery in a different form. And that the digital idea really is that final sort of nail in the coffin. Now they've got the technology to make us all into digital slaves. I mean, it's very, very satanic and sinister. And so from that perspective, as Julie says, with the Course in Miracles, being channels of light, flooding the labyrinth with light and visioning in a different alternative future, you know, it's satanic what's going on. Deeply satanic. Yeah.
Well, as I've just said, I've been to Italy, and the downfall of Italy was probably the Suez Canal, because we could probably just bypass Italy, because that's where the Silk Road may have ended, in Italy, for trade. And then you got the Ottomans in Istanbul, they could just block trade, so it made them lazy.
Yeah.
So that was the problem in the 1400s, I think.
Yeah.
Well, it changed in the 40s. Well, you had the Italians, the Renaissance in Florence, and then come towards the end of the 1800s, the 1900s, the Ottoman Empire had gone in total decline, because they were just blocking stuff so much that people felt, well, we found ways around them. We built the Suez Canal, and
yes,
it's all subject area worth researching. But that's what I felt, because I've been to Istanbul as well, and you can sense the Italians have been in there, and obviously the Galata Tower was the Genovese, so. And Antalya in Turkey was Italian, and they wanted it back. The Italians did at the end of the First World War. So,
I mean, it is interesting to witness the rise and the fall of all of these empires over time.
Yeah, they come and go.
You know, so this is one of the things they're saying about the American sort of empire falling with its Pluto return, and obviously you've got Donald Trump, almost like pumping up the balloon to the point where it's just going to burst.
Well, the British Empire, we passed our empire on to the Americans, didn't we? Really, that's what happened.
Yeah. So the thing that Dean says about the British Empire is that although the British withdrew, what they left was all the infrastructure. So all of the legal systems are based on the British legal system, the education system, the public school system, So all of their infrastructure, government, organization was all modeled on the template of the British system, which is deeply Masonic. So even though we withdrew, that we've left our sort of program, the Masonic command control program is alive and kicking, because all of the people in that have been educated and indoctrinated into similar systems, you know. Yeah, interesting.
Well, if you look at France, they're the same as well. And you had little Napoleon, who was in Italy, and then we eventually put him on St. Helena, didn't we? So
yeah,
that
hold
was
on, I've got a DPD man at the door. So
yeah.
Rog, you have to,
Yeah.
Oh, you got it. All right. So my son's doing it. Yeah,
No,
Napoleon. Yeah, try to ship him off to where because Corsica, was it?
Well, if you look at England, we had silver, didn't we? Silver sterling, and we lost that status. The US dollar was attached to gold.
Yeah.
Then Nixon took them off the gold standard, and then it became the petrodollar, didn't it? And then the petrodollars died out, and the US dollar is just a debt currency of the world. So everything is just based on debt, perpetual debt.
Yeah.
And they're just managing this debt and just passing it around. And
well, this was the insane thing about Las Vegas, when I was just like for example, Caesar's Palace, this monstrosity of like at least 1,000 bedroom hotel, if not this massive like shopping mall inside, which has been modeled on like Italian streets, like obviously connected to the mafia, I'm sure, why it's been, or well, I suppose Caesar's Palace being like Rome, but it's all kind of connected into Italy and I guess the mafia. Anyhow, you just think to yourself, where did they get all the money for all of this building and infrastructure? And of course, all of these dark forces own the money supply. So if you're in that world, you can easily raise £1 billion to build a monstrosity like that. They just make the money up out of thin air. It doesn't have to exist anywhere. And so the people who control the money and the banks, they can just manufacture money for all their mates, build all this monstrosity, buy up all of this, and, you know, and leave the people in the dust, really. And that's what's happened in Nevada, because originally that was, I forget the name of the Native American Indian tribe, but there was a lot of silver in Nevada. And that was the indigenous wealth, was the silver in the lands, and it was owned by obviously the Native American tribes, and they were completely annihilated and put into reservations, and the land just stolen. And it's just really, really sad and tragic.
You know, I remember listening to a chat, I think it was that Constantine guy, where they were discussing communism and Marxism. No, it wasn't. It was another chap. Tolstoy. I think Tolstoy's grandson. And he said the Russians, they used to get confused why they were just building roads to nowhere. They'd just have men building roads to give them jobs. And that's what's happening here. We're just having build back better. Just permanent construction with no real reason, just to give men jobs until they need them for war.
Okay.
So that, you know, they got to give us something to do.
Yeah, well, they're certainly building a lot of houses everywhere with this land that they're stealing off the farmers on the cheap and under this new bill. And all of these, I mean, whenever I go driving around, all of these new housing estates, quite often they're by big motorways, which is sort of, you know, land which I can't imagine why anyone would want to live
by a motorway,
right by the M5, for example. But it's happening in every village here in Devon. So much new building of just these Minecraft housing estates everywhere. And you can bet your bottom dollar that it's not the farmers who made the money out of the planning permission. They probably had to sell off their land because they couldn't afford to keep it. They were under so much financial pressure because of all the burdens, sold the grassland off cheap. And then a bill like this comes along, you know, the land can be picked up cheap, put into a land bank, and then suddenly the local council grants planning permission, probably gives a few backhanders to the people on the local council or the planning office, and suddenly you've got another housing estate with like a few £1 million worth of homes on. The whole system is completely corrupt and just like shocking.
These new houses have only been built to last 50 years, a century at most. They're just going to naturally collapse because they're not built to a good standard. But one thing I have noticed, if you go to somewhere like Telford or Runcorn, in the 1970s, they had to rebuild the road network. So you've got a new network on top of an old road network.
Okay.
And it's so confused. Sometimes you get there and you think, this road isn't right. It just dissected through everything. And then when I got to Italy, magnify that by 10. And the road systems are so complicated. You think you're going off right, and then snake, because I refuse to use sat-nav, and you think you're getting off at the right junction, and it just takes you off and round, and you just end up in a big spaghetti loop of roads. So they just, I don't know, the way they're building the road networks now just does not make sense. You're going to need a sat-nav telling you to take right or left at the third junction, and it's getting beyond what a human brain can cope with. Unless you've driven it and you know it, you're just lost. Unbelievable.
Yeah, well, it's not going to be long before all cars are driverless, is it? I mean, I think I might have mentioned on here when I was hiring vans to move some stuff, these newfangled vans and all of their, you know, they won't allow you to go over the line unless you've got your indicator on, and it won't allow you to go over the speed limit, and there's so many restrictions already. Like, it's so difficult to drive because you haven't really got control of the car. It's kind of got control over you. It's quite frightening. So the next stage of that is going to be like, you won't be able to get cars which are not like compliant with, complying with all of the speed limits, everything that they want you, and ultimately you'll only be allowed to go to where you're allowed to go. So it's quite frightening, this whole digital totalitarianism. It's the net is closing in, that's for sure. Anyhow, it's 1:15. We've seemed to be sort of chatting for a long time. So Julie hasn't come back on. Rog, do you want to say anything, or Daniel?
Well, I think I've said everything that I need to say, except you and I are on a campaign to be able to defeat legislation. And that's where we need to be, because they need legislation to brainwash the whole system, everybody in the system. They need legislation so that the cops can obey what the government wants them to do.
Yeah.
And the courts will do the same. But of course, the cops and the courts are all corporations anyway.
Yeah. Well, I was speaking to Dean. Sorry, I was speaking to Dean on Sunday at Stand in the Park. He came along, and we were just saying that, you know, the courts, the justice system is actually the linchpin that holds the whole shit show together. So that's the place to pull the kaplunk straw out, because if we the people assert our rights through the justice system, that collapses all of the shit legislation, because it's actually unlawful. And if we can assert our lawful rights to a trial by jury and nullify that legislation. Sorry, Paul, did you want to say?
Yeah, have you both heard of a gentleman called Albert Burgess?
I haven't, no.
Yeah, he wrote a book, and he said the 1911 Parliament Act, which is when the Fabians were getting going, was when we went from the divine right of kings to the divine right of politicians. So if you start looking at the 1911 Parliament Act, that's possibly where we took a wrong turn.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. It's the reclamation of our lawful rights, because most people have no awareness and they just comply with legislation without questioning it. And I've obviously recently been into court challenging legislation, you know, and I wasn't successful, but I think every person in that courtroom knew that I was speaking truth to bullshit.
Yeah, we've seen people like Roger Hayes, Tom Crawford with his home in Nottingham, and that guy down Hereford, I forget his name, he passed away. They've gone into the courts, they've challenged it, and they've said, listen, there's going to be more people down the line coming into the courts challenging you. But they still just go ahead and do what they want.
That man, I think, was John Harris, wasn't it?
No, he was a friend of John Harris.
Oh.
I forget his name. He was from Hereford.
Yeah. Anyhow, I need to go now because I've got things I must do. But it's been a really fascinating chat. Thanks for everyone that's come on. Thanks, Rog, and thanks, Paul. Thanks, Julie, for hosting, even though she had to leave, and thanks, Dan, for holding the space and being there as one of our regulars, even albeit not on camera. So yeah, it's really interesting times, and even though it's just 5 of us, there were 6 earlier with Alan. Thank you to Alan as well for coming on. You know, do not underestimate the power of small groups of people. Yeah. It's the only thing that has ever changed the world. Just to remind us of that. All right. Lots of love. I'm going to stop the recording and I'm going to exit, and then Julie will just have to terminate whenever she gets back. So, okay.
See you all later. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.